Tonight, it's that time of year. Police kick off their holiday ride campaigns in an effort to take impaired drivers off the roads.
But one thing let's all aim for. Let's aim for zero.
The OPP and York Police trying to get the message out as the holiday season kicks off. Plus,
so we basically lost all our plants, definitely lost a lot of aquatic life.
Billions of liters of raw sewage leaked into this Hamilton waterway. Now residents are angry that they were kept in the dark about it. And Canada's Wonderland has been transformed into a winter wonderland as the park tries to prove it's more than just a thrill ride. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. As we start getting into the holiday season, including the festive food and drinks, police are reminding everyone to celebrate safely. Tonight, York Regional Police and the OPP are launching their ride campaigns with checkpoints all throughout the GTA. Natalie Nanowski has the details.
Police didn't have to give this guy a breathalyzer.
Where are you coming from?
I was going from Beaverton.
Going from or to?
Coming from Beaverton.
Yeah.
He had been driving so erratically, a woman called him in back in 2017.
I could see the vehicle frequently weaving from side to side, several times crossing into the oncoming lane. At the next intersection, it turned to head in the opposite direction, and I made the decision to make a U-turn and follow him.
Her 911 call led to an arrest. Today, she joined York Regional Police in rolling out this year's ride campaign. In 2019, more than 5,000 people in York Region alone have called police to report a suspected drunk driver.
The figure represents more than 100 additional charges laid from this time a year ago, and about 125 more from the year before that, 2017. These numbers are rising, and that's disappointing and frustrating for all of us.
Hearing that was especially emotional for Jennifer Neville Lake. She lost her 3 children and father 4 years ago when a drunk driver ran a stop sign.
The reason we're here is a result of somebody else's choices, actions, and consequences. We have to live with the consequences, and it is really, really absolutely terrible. I can't even explain to it. But that is why I'm here, to show support.
The increase in numbers is seen across the GTA. Even before York Regional Police made their announcement, a drunk driver was arrested in Toronto after crashing into a store. Toronto's campaign rolls out next week. Expect to see stops all over the city. Tonight, the Ontario Provincial Police is also launching theirs.
What we want everyone to do is make good decisions. If you're out there celebrating with alcohol, have a designated driver or have an option. But one thing let's all aim for. Let's aim for zero.
Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
A 36-year-old woman on her bicycle died after a hit-and-run accident in Oshawa this morning. It happened on Sevenson Road, just north of Highway 401, around 4 a.m. Police say a passerby found the woman in the middle of the roadway. She was rushed to hospital where she later died. Police haven't released her name. Investigators are still looking for the suspect.
Did find evidence at the scene, and that evidence consisted of debris, and one of those items specifically was a headlight. So we know that the suspect vehicle has some pretty significant damage to the front end of that vehicle. We are making a plea to that driver, he or she, to contact a lawyer, turn yourself in, and do the right thing.
Police say the vehicle was most likely traveling southbound when the woman was hit. They say several vehicles drove around her without stopping to help. They're asking anyone who witnessed the incident or has dash cam video to come forward.
Why even have the sidewalk extended?
A startling scene near the Junction Triangle neighborhood today after a driver plowed into several cars.
Smashed into the 3 last cars that were there on the corner, and he hooked a left turn. So I immediately started running after him. When I turned and looked north, the Q van was already stalled. He already had smashed another vehicle and came to a stop.
This was near DuPont and Symington. Police received multiple calls just before the lunch hour about an erratic driver in a cube van smashing into parked cars. Once the van came to a stop, witnesses reportedly stayed with the driver until police arrived. The van struck as many as 15 vehicles. Fortunately, no one was injured. Police believe the cube van was stolen. A man in his 30s is now facing a long list of charges. We're learning more about the massive sewage spill in Hamilton. Meanwhile, the city confirms it knew how bad things were back in January. Over the past 4 years, more than 20 billion liters of untreated sewage had leaked into Chedoke Creek. If you're wondering just how much that is, it's enough to fill the Rogers Center 15 times. But Hamilton residents weren't fully informed about the scope of the spill until just days ago. Angelina King has more on how the city is defending its decision.
Several city councilors speaking out about this today, saying there was a lot of private discussion and that some councilors wanted to make the information public, but ultimately it was decided to be kept secret. They say they were following legal advice. An investigation is underway, and the city says that by releasing some of this information to the public, it could be damaging to a potential defense. Now, all of this didn't come to light until the Hamilton Spectator obtained confidential reports and published some of that information about outlining the scope of the leak to City Council. Now, residents and environmental advocates here in Hamilton say that they are shocked and upset with City Council's decision. Behind this locked fence and under the water, a gate was left open, just ajar, but the consequences enormous. For 4 years, 24 billion liters of untreated sewage and storm runoff leaked undetected. It went into Chedoke Creek, which runs along Highway 403 and flows into Cootes Paradise, a marsh and tourist destination.
The combination of raw sewage and stormwater runoff is really toxic. It contains all kinds of horribles, everything from human excrement, blood, mucus, vomit, oil, petroleum, petrochemicals, metals, various kinds of poisons, and they would go into the wetlands, and some of them would stay there for a long time.
The city says it doesn't know how the gate was left open, but says as soon as it knew it was, in July of 2018, it was shut. Cleanup began, and a report went to the Environment Ministry.
From that moment on, there was the health risk was gone.
John Body first noticed something was wrong in 2017.
The smell was pongy, you know, it's hard to describe, like kind of mud and rotting things.
He believes he was the first person to report it to the province in July of 2018.
And there was plastic debris floating around as well, things that people might flush down toilets.
That's when residents were told to stay away from the water because it had high levels of E. coli. The city was working to find out why. The Royal Botanical Gardens and other agencies have spent years and millions of dollars trying to restore and clean up Cootes Paradise. It says the city didn't say how much sewage the marsh had soaked up or how long the leak lasted.
So we basically lost all our plants. It had taken quite a few years to reestablish. The oxygen went out of the water, so we've definitely lost a lot of aquatic life.
The reason for keeping it all private, the city says it was following legal advice.
When you're under investigation, you don't talk about the details or the circumstances of what's being investigated. So it's an unsatisfying answer.
But Sachs, who is now an environmental lawyer, says while it'd be worth keeping some things private, like due diligence, the scope of the leak isn't one of them.
All it does to me is undermine public trust in their government.
The Ministry of Environment is investigating, and the city could face fines of $1 million for every day the sewage was leaking, and that's more than 1,000 days. There are a couple city councillors who are going to be putting forward a motion in the coming days saying that council should apologize to residents, and the city says that there's nothing to suggest that the health of local residents was ever affected. Angelina King, CBC News, Hamilton.
Meteorologist Nick Cernkovich joins us now for a first look at our forecast, and it almost feels like we had this bad dream that was winter, and now we've regressed back to normal temperatures for this time of year. It's been feeling pretty nice.
Yeah, or even above normal. Last night at 1 in the morning, we hit 11 degrees. Now, that wasn't a record, but 11 degrees at 1 in the morning. It dropped, though, in behind the cold front that moved through. So sort of variable in terms of the weather, but definitely warm. Here's a look at your headlines. Winds are easing tonight. Temperatures rising again, and then more in the way of sunshine heading into the weekend. There's the 11 I talked about last night. This is a look at daytime highs, but in fact, there were overnight highs, and then it sort of fell throughout the day today, and the winds didn't make it feel much better. But this is all changing coming up over the next few days. Lots in the way of sunshine for tomorrow, and even for parts of Sunday as well. Your forecast tonight, though, back down to -4 degrees as temperatures drop, 5 degrees for tomorrow, and again, it gets warmer into next week. Full forecast in a bit.
That's some good news. Thanks, Nick. For the first time ever, Canada's Wonderland will open its gates in the winter. Starting today and running until December 31st, the amusement park will be hosting its own Winterfest. As Greg Ross shows us, organizers are hoping to showcase a side of the park that people haven't seen before in its 38-year history.
We're looking to create a new holiday tradition for families.
And they're hoping to do that by transforming Canada's Wonderland into what they hope will be a winter wonderland.
Nobody's seen this place in the winter, and we have decked it out in 5 million lights. We have this massive skating rink in front of Wonder Mountain. We have more than a dozen live shows and performances. Most of those are outside in the park in intimate, environments.
Today, staff were putting the finishing touches on some of the costumes that will be used in those shows.
We have over 200 costume pieces total at Winterfest this season.
All of them winter or Christmas themed. Not available during Winterfest, the roller coasters, which are typically the biggest draw at Canada's Wonderland.
We'll have select rides open, and they're all weather dependent, but mostly the kids' rides in the kids section, which is now called Charlie Brown's Christmas Town.
But they have added some features that are exclusive to Winterfest, like transforming all of their merchandise shops into Christmas markets, and they've brought in some winter-themed food options as well.
We have festal fennel cakes, gingerbread, eggnog, and candy cane. We're going to have mulled wine and ciders, hot chocolate for the kids. We've got maple bacon on a stick, apple churros.
This is an evening event only. The idea is to showcase those 5 million lights that they've set up around the park. So the plan is to have Canada's Wonderland open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings right through until the end of December. And they also plan to have it open most evenings during the kids' holiday break from school. Greg Ross, CBC News, Vaughan.
I'm just enormously grateful. I just don't know what to say, really. I just feel so fortunate that I can still be here to sort of appreciate it, you know what I mean?
He lost virtually everything in a fire, and now the city's music community is rallying to support him through this tough time. Coming up, we'll bring you the story of this beloved pianist and show you how Orchestra Toronto has helped.
My wallet's in there, my money's in there, my, manuscripts. I'm a composer. Everything's in. My life is in there.
That was Richard Harriet earlier this week, moments after a fire on Queen Street West forced him out of his building. Harriet is a musician and he lost his home and his possessions in the fire. Now, after hearing what happened to him, a number of people stepped up to help. Orchestra Toronto immediately set up a fundraiser. And as Kelda Yoon reports, it caught the attention of many others in the music community.
What was the first song you ever learned?
Oh, well, it was a Clementi Sonatina. I think it was this one.
But Richard Harriet graduated from that quickly, playing in orchestras in Newfoundland, the UK, Toronto. And composing original work like this piece.
I feel even if my equilibrium is all upside down, which it is at the moment, as soon as I start to play, I just feel like I'm at home.
But 3 days ago, a fire ripped through this 3-story building on Queen West near Dufferin, leaving Richard and 3 others homeless and destroying all their belongings.
All my manuscripts are gone, all my scores, my books. That's the thing that is so cruel.
News of Richard's situation spread quickly.
By the time I got into the office, I had messages from Jay, from a few other orchestra members.
Jenny Warden and Jay Marsh from Orchestra Toronto set up a GoFundMe page. Within 3 days, it's raised over $15,000.
All of us who work in the arts live on the edge of precarity. We all recognize that about each other. And so there's this sense of this need to make sure that we're all taken care of. There's another orchestra member.
Oh, in the band.
Yep.
Many of those who donated, fellow musicians who have crossed paths with Richard through the years.
As a musician, I also know he's lost his instruments. He's lost his all of the work that he's done that may not be in the Canadian Music Centre in recordings, or may not be saved on a drive somewhere. It might be just handwritten manuscripts, and that's the tragedy.
I'm just enormously grateful. I mean, I just don't know what to say, really.
Richard is currently living with a friend and says he's taking it one day at a time. He's also giving back. Next week, he's playing a fundraiser for Orchestra Toronto. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
It's been a week since a devastating fire broke out in a North York apartment, displacing hundreds of residents. And now 2 Toronto school boards are giving a helping hand to students who have been affected by it.
To be homeless is a difficult feeling. Sorry. First week was, again, very stressful because it was just fresh. Now, again, just as they said before, now it's the long term. So now we need to think about permanent residence because people still need to work. We need to go to school.
The fire happened last Friday night at a high-rise residential building on Gosford Boulevard. It displaced around 700 residents, including 23 students and 1 staff member from the Toronto Public Board and 27 students from the Toronto Catholic Board. Both school boards are now running campaigns to raise money for the affected families. For more information on how to donate, head to the websites for each school board. Coming up, we're going to tell you about Reclaim Fresh. It's a program run by the Mississauga Food Bank that partners with grocery stores to ensure that everyone has access to fresh and healthy produce.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Nick's back now with our extended forecast, and you gave us a little bit of a teaser, but I'm hoping to see more days like that coming up.
Yeah, you will. And I want to put this into perspective for you, as I usually do. This is a look at your average temperatures for this time of year. The average daytime high, 5.6. Last night, we hit 11 degrees, and then it fell. Average daytime low, minus 1.8. So we're sort of going way above and below that, at least over the last 24 hours or so. It is going to come with some good sunshine, though. We saw some sunshine today. Tomorrow, same story. We've got a lot in the way of sunny skies. Heading into Sunday, we'll see a bit more in the way of cloud cover, but it doesn't come with a drop in temperatures. In fact, we're going to hold steady with about seasonal temperatures for the next few days, and then they start to rise heading into mid next week. There's a look at your forecast into Sunday. I don't think we're going to see anything in the way of precipitation, just some cloud cover for Sunday. Winds were pretty gusty today, 40 to 60 kilometers per hour, sort of petering out this evening. And then as we move through tomorrow, they're going to pick up once again. So this is a look at your forecast gusts. By tomorrow morning, gusting back up to around 40, maybe 50 kilometers per hour. And then it peters out again into Saturday afternoon and through Sunday as well. We're looking at winds around that 10 to 20 kilometer per hour mark. Forecast-wise for southwestern Ontario coming up tonight, minus 3 degrees in most areas. Wind chill, though, about minus 8 is what it's going to feel like, and winds about 20 kilometers per hour. Moving through tomorrow afternoon, mainly sunny skies, temperatures at 5 degrees, so that's pretty close to that seasonal mark, even for southwestern Ontario. For the Golden Horseshoe, more or less the same story. Temperatures tonight around minus 3, minus 4 degrees, depending on where you are. It'll be a little bit warmer closer to the lake, but as you get further away, about minus 4 degrees is what we're looking at. Wind chills again of about minus 8. Now tomorrow, I mentioned the winds are going to pick up again, gust to about 40 kilometers per hour, highs to 5 degrees, and that comes with a fair deal of sunshine, and it does get warmer in the long-range forecast. So remember that average daytime high of about 5.6 degrees. There's a look at the next 5 days. So we've got 5s carrying us through till Monday. Tuesday, though, 8 degrees, and even on Wednesday with a few showers, we're looking at a 6. Talia.
Wow, I think a lot of people will be pretty pleased with this.
Yeah, does that do it for you? I know you were looking forward to it.
Yes, this is great. This is the best news you could have given me. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
She lets me lie on her stomach. I give her a hug and kiss. She is my BFF. I'm so happy for my buddy dog.
25 dogs successfully completed guide dog training today, graduating with their handlers and moving forward to finding their forever homes. They'll be placed with visually impaired owners. Graduation ceremonies were held across the country today in Toronto, Ottawa, Winnipeg, St. John's, and Vancouver. Congratulations to these special furry friends. A new program in Mississauga is rescuing food, reducing waste, and feeding the community. Reclaim Fresh picks up quality edible food from the back doors of grocery stores and then distributes it to food banks and people in need. Take a look.
How are you? Good.
Wednesday mornings at Iqbal Halal Foods in Mississauga, a truck visits the shop to pick up things like eggs, meat, fresh fruit, and vegetables.
Okay, we can just put it on the pallet? Yeah.
The food might not look perfect, but it's perfectly good to eat.
Things like this. So this is a perfectly good eggplant, but people won't pick it up because of this.
So instead of throwing it out, it's helping to feed people in the community like Jane.
It makes an enormous difference because those foods cost a lot of money in the grocery store, and those are the foods that people usually don't spend money on because they can't get that much food for their money.
The program is called Reclaim Fresh. It was launched by the Mississauga Food Bank.
We're coming up on 20 grocery stores in Mississauga who have partnered with us from all the different chains and banners, including some independent stores. We're hoping to see a new store come on every month until we've reached them all in the city.
Their goal is to provide 5 million additional meals to the community over the next 5 years, with ingredients that are better for the body than processed food or canned goods.
For people who are using food banks, whether for a short period or a long period, helping them stay healthy also contributes to their success in life. And so we want to make sure that the food we're providing is as healthy as possible.
And that goal seems to be working. Jane says she's feeling
absolutely healthier.
And you can do your part this holiday season to support food banks across the GTA. Donate to CBC Toronto's Sounds of the Season fundraiser with Daily Bread Food Bank. We're collecting money and non-perishable food donations here at the Broadcast Centre. You can also donate online or over the phone. And 2 weeks today, we're having an open house here at CBC Toronto where there'll be fun activities and live performances, so come on down and bring a donation. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. Maribel Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Good night.